Hello and welcome to the Captain's Table, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Shelley. You're your host here at the AstroPub and your moderator here on the Captain's Table. Captain's Table is a podcast where I bring people from all over the Star Citizen universe to talk about Star Citizen news, updates, at least 60% of the time. So we'll try to keep it on topic. Today, we're doing a special episode. Usually we do these on Saturdays, but since it's my summer, I have a little bit more time and I can gather people who may not always be able to make their narrow time window on Saturdays. So today I brought in two, obviously, folks who you probably have already seen in the Star Citizen community, but are new-ish to the game. And so we'll talk a little bit about this. But before we get to that, to the discussions, we'll start with you. Ollie, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? And where can I find you? And I already messed up your name, so...
That Ollie works. Hello.
Yeah.
I'm Ollie. I go by Olli43 on YouTube. I've been around for like over 10 years now on YouTube doing various things. And recently I dipped my toe back into Star Citizen. And it's been a journey. That's kind of where I'm at. That's what I do. Just discovering Star Citizen.
I was telling Ollie before the secret reason why I wanted him to come on is because I was also a Mission of a Partner back in the days when you had the only way you could make money was with, gosh, what were they called?
Hey, me too.
Were you too?
Machinima
Partners. Where it was the dark times, the darkest dark times.
It was the only way though.
Yeah, you could.
It was the only way.
Was it like 10% of the profits that you get from them or something like that? I remember it was an incredibly low amount of money that it would give you.
Oh, no, I got a better deal than you, just so
thank you.
Know that. And
thank you.
Wait,
but I remember that you would ask other people and you'd be like, wait, why are you getting a much bigger percentage than me? What the hell?
Do you remember there was a flat view to money ratio for some of the guys earlier?
I got that for a while. And
Did
then
you?
I was just like in for Legacy for a while. And then eventually they like contacted me and they're like, this is actually, we're losing money on you right now. And they like showed me the data and they're like, yeah, they're like, we've been losing money on your channel for the past year, so we're going to cancel your contract. I was like, oh, all right, fine.
That seems reasonable. Yeah.
Yes. All right. And where can they find you? You already said Olli43 on YouTube. Do you do any Twitch stuff at all, or is it just YouTube?
That's a loaded question. So I have a Twitch channel.
Okay.
And I'm incredibly inconsistent with it just because I one-man band YouTube. And I just don't have the energy to Twitch. It is tiring.
Yes.
Streaming. So I got nothing but respect for people that do it on the daily. But yeah, so I try, but no, not really, if I'm honest.
And then LevelCap. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen, and where can they find you?
All right. I'm a gamer. Been making content on YouTube for about as long as Ollie, I think. 10 years. I think I started in 2011. So it's been a while, a journey. And I've always been aware of Star Citizen. I think I became a backer back in like 2013, 2014, something like that. And have only dropped in incrementally when cool stuff was happening and went, oh, that's cool. All right. I'll see you guys in 6 months to a year. And that's been generally my experience with Star Citizen up until recently when the game has just become more playable. And if you jump in now, having not tried anything over the past like 3 to 4 years, there's actually quite a lot of stuff to do before you like start running out of things to explore or ships to fly or like, combat to perfect and whatnot. So I've been enjoying it. People can find me on YouTube, youtube.com/LevelCapGaming. And I also stream on YouTube, again, very inconsistently because content is my priority. And yeah, streaming is hard. It takes a lot of work, man.
All right. Well, let's start with more about the content that you produced, before you started producing stuff for Star Citizen, for context of where you're coming from in terms of any of your kind of thoughts on Star Citizen. So we'll start with you, LevelCap, since you're the last one to introduce yourself. Where did you start with your content creation or even just gaming before coming to Star Citizen? What other kind of games were you covering or into?
Well, I mean, I started my YouTube channel on Battlefield. I've always been kind of a gamer who's tried more or less every genre, but I think in terms of what I've spent the most time with, it's been like competitive shooters and stuff. I had my Counter-Strike phase pre-YouTube and stuff, pre-Counter-Strike Source and whatnot. And then I had my arena shooter phase with Unreal Tournament and Quake. And then it kind of just started evolving, and the tactical shooters were taking over everything, Halo. And then when Battlefield really started to hit its stride, like I played all the Battlefield games, but there was like a thing happening when BF3 was announced. You could just feel, you're like, oh my God, this game's gonna like change the paradigm on what a Battlefield game is, but also what a shooter is. And I just had the timing lined up perfectly. I was quitting a job to move down to Southern California with my wife. And I was like, man, I could really like hardcore try and get a job at Blizzard right now or something else, because that's what my work and my portfolio experience was at the time. And I just went for YouTube. I was like, I'm going to try this. I was like watching Husky StarCraft and stuff and a couple of the COD YouTubers. And I was like, I think I could do this, and made a go for it. And luckily Battlefield was a huge hit with Battlefield 3. And I just built my channel off of that. Because there wasn't really any competition at the moment. I was like, I'm just going to go hardcore for this. And there was nobody else in the Battlefield scene full time dedicating themselves to making content for the game. So, yeah, super successful with that. And I've more or less stuck around the shooter genre since then. And luckily, Star Citizen is kind of a hybrid between that. But like I said at the start, I've also just really enjoyed all types of games, from RTS to occasionally single player to puzzle games to whatever. But my YouTube channel's kind of like shoehorned me into the shooter genre a bit. And
Yeah,
so yeah, now I'm kind of like, come on guys, it's a shooter in space. You'll like it. Watch it.
Yeah, I know that feeling. For those of you who don't know that the algorithm is a fickle mistress at times, and it'll push you into places, so you sometimes get cornered for that. But you said did you do game development or software development before you started your YouTube?
Yeah. So let's see. I went to college back when game development wasn't an option as like a thing, and you had to pay like 50 grand to some specialized school that was like super overpriced.
That was
and
like
then
2
you could
years
get,
old.
Yeah, yeah, and then you could get a crappy job working on The Sims, which is what I was about to take before I decided that I didn't want to work at Electronic Arts. I worked at EA for about a year in quality assurance, and that was enough time talking to other people who were on dev teams and working to realize I was like right on the edge of like, should I just bail from my plans to become a game developer altogether? And there's a couple things happening in life that was like, oh, I could move completely away from California at the time. And so it was like either take a content job on The Sims or move away. And I was like, I'm going to move away and just be a freelance 3D animator for a while. So that's what I did. And then kind of YouTube jived a bit more.
Nice.
So yeah, I was like right on the edge, and I did a little bit of mobile app development with a friend of mine back during the iPhone craze when that was launching. We're like, oh my God, some dude made like $2 million on Doodle Jump. We all have to make apps now.
I know what I'm doing tomorrow.
Yeah,
apps.
so we made
apps.
We made a couple of apps. So that's kind of like a little bit. And then I did a lot of map design and stuff back in like the modding Unreal Engine days and whatnot. I feel like most people getting into game development like probably started on Unreal Engine or Unreal Ed to some extent. So I mean, like I kind of understand things from sort of almost was in the game industry.
More than your average gamer, for sure.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more. And then devs like to talk to me all the time about what's going on behind the scenes. So I kind of get the inside scoop on stuff. So I feel like I dodged a little bit of a bullet going into the like, oh, I'm just gonna grind my way up to be a lead gameplay designer, a lead game developer, and like it's like a 10-year journey of hell.
It's a 10-year journey of low pay and very bad like benefits. So.
Yeah, no overtime, mandatory overtime, or what they do nowadays is like it's not mandatory overtime, but in the next hiring cycle, because they don't have firing cycles, they have rehiring cycles, and you just don't get rehired if you didn't take that optional overtime. So yeah,
it hurts me that games bring like literally millions of people joy, and yet the people making them at times probably have to crunch and do all those things, and it's like it's, I don't know, maybe it's great and maybe it's amazing, but I hear a lot of like stories like you're saying that it's not the best. It's hard. It's grueling and challenging, and then people complain that it doesn't work. So I wish I do wish people could see how games were made more granularly, just so they know like the effort going into stuff, you know?
It's crazy. And I think at the time when I was deciding not to go into game development, Steam was like a brand new thing. And that was kind of the like beginning of like, hey, you can be an indie game developer now with like a few people and actually make money and like produce content that people like. So that was just becoming a thing. And I think if that had been more established, I might have made more of a push in that direction. Because I think indie game development is probably where it's at in terms of just general enjoyment of the process, you know.
The balance.
But
yeah.
I mean, look at Valheim last year. Like that was a small studio.
Yeah.
And that game just went
huge. I was watching your game update. You released just like a couple hours ago, LevelCap, and you talked about one of the companies that's making that toy shooter that like how it was this tiny company and then kind of expanded out.
Oh yeah.
So it's a good example.
It's cool. Yeah, I think it was a team of like 3 or 5 guys or something, and now it's like in the top 25 sellers on Steam, and you're like, oh, those guys had a nice payday. But those stories are nice, but for every success story, there's like 1,000 failure stories too. So it's kind of like kind of like with the YouTube thing too. Is like when I heard that becoming a content creator or a influencer, love that term.
Yeah.
Was like now the most wanted job over like firefighter and astronaut or something like that. I was like, yeah, because it looks cool from the success standpoint, but like they don't publicize all the guys who spent like thousands of hours and didn't make it, you know.
Did you guys do the same thing I did when you heard like influencer or YouTuber was like the most popular thing to do? Did you do what I did, which was like, hey, I did it before it was cool and before everyone else did it? Just to let you know, like now it's all like before when I told people what I did, it was like, oh, I make videos on YouTube, and people would go, oh, I didn't know you could do that. And now it's like, oh, you're one of those people.
Yeah, there was a transition for sure.
I used to say, oh, I'm an online marketing person. That's the way of doing it.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah, it's true. It's just like that's what I'm doing. It's just a way of explaining it to people. Be like, oh yeah, because like they understand those words, but they don't understand what actually. It's like, oh yeah, I make videos about video games on the internet. That doesn't exactly string. So
I just say I'm a video editor, and then if they ask if they try to get into more, I say I started my own video editing company, which is not a lie per se, but then I don't have to go down the rabbit hole of, oh, what channel are you? I'm going to follow you on Twitter and all that. And then, And
it's always at the hairdressers, I found, or the barbers. Like, why have I always, I'm a bank manager, I'm a real estate agent, you know, every time I have to go to new hairdressers and barbers because I keep forgetting what I've told them.
What you told them?
Yeah.
Just find another influencer who's a hairdresser, and then you're fine. You know, you're good.
There you go.
Ollie, same question to you. Like, where did you come from before getting into Star Citizen? What other kind of games did you cover? Either as a content creator or even just as a player.
So it's interesting. LevelCap said about Battlefield 3, and I think I got my Machinima partnership based on a Battlefield 3 pilot tutorial. So I wouldn't say I started there, though. I probably started back in GTA 5 videos talking about that game before it was sort of announced and released. I would read articles about leaks, and it was just fun to talk about. So that's where I kind of got my channel, to a point where it was, something worth putting work into every week. And from there, I did GTA 5 videos. I did a bit of Battlefield occasionally, Call of Duty occasionally. Then I went through a phase of doing GTA 5 mods, which, by the way, LevelCap, did you ever get into mods for GTA 5? Because you have the experience to do like 3D modeling and stuff. I imagine you could have done something there.
Yeah, I don't think I just never had the time, once you're a YouTuber, especially solo YouTuber, which, the grind is never ending. So, occasionally, especially nowadays when I'm just like, I'm going to do a thing that I want to do that isn't going to make me money, then I'll take some time away from YouTube and do it. But yeah, back in the grind days, which that would have been, I was just singularly focused on growing the channel.
Yeah. And then I got into a game called Planet Coaster, which is just a theme park building game. Because when I was really young, I was one of these people that absolutely loved Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, which was just a really cool sim of building a theme park and trying to make money, and that was great. And then I don't know where to go from there. And then I took a break on YouTube for about 3 months or so. Did some stuff, and I come back. And previously, over I don't know 4 or 5 years, I like LevelCap did a video every so often of checking out Star Citizen. I backed, I think, in 2014, 2015.
Okay.
And those videos were well received, and I really, really enjoyed space, Star Citizen space. There was nothing else quite like it, so it was really cool. Anyway, I come back, and it was like the first video I made, and that video did really well. So I've just been making videos on Star Citizen ever since. Now I think I'm on 71 videos now. And to answer your question on
You have
how
your
much
javelin now.
yes,
Yes,
and I
saw
have my
that.
javelin. And to answer your question on how there's so much content on Star Citizen right now, for you to go through, it's about 70 videos, I would say, because I'm now covering the PTU with new missions and stuff, and that's all new. But everything else I've pretty much seen and done. I think maybe a bit more, but that's a lot of content.
Yeah. I would say, like, I haven't even done everything in Star Citizen. I've been covering it since 2016. So I know there are some stuff,
sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to think about it. It's the mind. Planet Coaster is actually made by Frontier Developments, which is the team behind Elite. So they
Interesting.
It's the same engine too, so it was pretty cool. Because I remember when it first came out, it was like, oh wow, they're using the Elite engine for Planet Coaster.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Elite Dangerous is good fun.
It doesn't
actually
seem to translate, but
Yeah.
And it's a very similar thing for me. In it's just like being in the cockpit.
Mm-hmm.
It seems so silly now because I've made 70 videos about it, and you kind of don't really pay attention to all that stuff. But like when you first get in that pilot seat and it's a space station, it looks so different to anything you've seen before. It's really cool. So, yeah, same with Elite Dangerous as well, I suppose.
Let's move on to more of your experience in Star Citizen so far. You don't talk about how you've done a lot of it. What was was there a wow moment? Was there a moment where you were playing Star Citizen, it just clicked and you were just like, I get it, I understand it? Was it just like the first time you picked it up? Was it sometime a little later?
Yeah, and it wasn't so much like the visuals, although they blow me away, and like just all the normal elements you'd think about. For me, it was like the first day I got back, I was recording a video for Star Citizen, and I didn't know what I was doing. And a guy at Area 18, I sort of said in the global chat, I don't know what I'm doing. Can someone help me? And this guy in Area 18 sort of said, yeah, I can help you. And he takes me to my hangar, to my Constellation Phoenix, is what I pledged way back when. And that was really cool. And then we spent like an hour getting out of a space station, learning all the hotkeys. We got into orbit, and then he hits the self-destruct button, and we blow up. And it was, for me, that was the moment where I was like, this game is amazing already, but just adding multiplayer and anything can happen. And there was like, for me, thinking about it, there was a narrative to that game session, was really cool. And that's when, for me, it kind of clicked, where it was like, every time I play this game, although sometimes the game is still in development and bad things happen, there's like a narrative every time you play. And it may be something small, like doing a mission, but usually something always goes wrong or something happens. And that's fun. When LevelCap and I did a video, we just ended up doing the thing with the A2, is it? With the Moabs?
The bomb.
Yeah, that's the A2.
Yeah, and that was really cool. Like, and there was a narrative to that. Like, you had your jump stolen, or we thought it was stolen at the time, and then we come up with a whole new plan It was really cool.
Yeah, plan one fails. It's usually plan C that ends up being
Yeah.
the bulk of the content.
Yeah. It was good,
Sometimes
though.
sometimes you play Star Citizen, and sometimes Star Citizen plays you. So I get that. I understand that.
And
Level
that's
Cap,
what got me.
that's what got you. Level Cap, same question for you. Like, was there a moment that just clicked for you, where you understood it, you got what Star Citizen's about, or like a big moment, just like I know this game now.
It's hard to it's hard to pinpoint a single moment because I think that's what's kind of special about this project is that each like kind of iterative step of development is like a new wow moment. Like I'm sure when persistent entity streaming comes in, that's going to be a new wow moment of like, hey, Ollie, you died here last week and your body's still here. How cool is that? Like
Yep.
that'll be crazy if it works like that, you know? I think from the original Kickstarter video, I was very impressed and I was like, can I have a cup of that Kool-Aid, Chris? Like I was fully on board with the idea and I was like, yes, like let's do some space sims because I grew up playing a lot of the old school space sims. I even played the little 2D ones where you're like Escape Velocity, I think one of
Oh, I
them or
love that
something,
one.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Escape Velocity is almost like just if you just magnify that concept infinitely in terms of fidelity, you've got Star Citizen
Mhm.
to an extent, right? And so like seeing a project come along where it's like, hey, what if we like took all the cool game tech that we've been developing forever and just put it all into a space sim? And I was like, cool, I'm on board. Let's do that. Let's take it as far as it can go. But with the game, there's a sequence of moments. I think the first time that there was a planetary landing sequence in the game, that kind of blew my mind. And I think I was talking about it with you on a podcast of seeing that you could fire lasers from orbit and people on the ground would see them hitting the surface of the planet next to them. And that kind of blew my mind because I was like, oh, they're not faking this game.
Yes, Ollie. Yes, you can do that.
You just made me go.
Right? Yeah, if you're on the ground and I see your little icon, I can start shooting at you. And if one of those lasers hits you, you're dead. You know,
All
You're
right,
like,
that's a video.
there's your content for tomorrow. But
Thank you.
it's just sort of like that moment where I was like, every other developer on the planet would have faked this, right? Like you just would have faked it because why on earth would you try and simulate a universe? Because it's just too complicated. It seems impossible, but they're going for it. So that was like the first like major mind explosion moment. Once multi-crew started becoming more reliable, the very first iteration of multi-crew was like a very exciting balloon deflating moment where you get on the ship and then everything goes wrong and everybody dies horribly. And that's kind of what multi-crew was for quite a while. But once that started becoming more reliable, I sort of had this epiphany moment of like, no other games are going to offer this level of like teamwork experience. It's sort of like what Sea of Thieves kind of hit on a bit, but Sea of Thieves makes it super accessible, but also kind of simple. And Star Citizen's going to be like, okay, you can have that Sea of Thieves style gameplay of like everybody's working on the ship together for a common goal and working together, but in different ways. And that could be like this major draw for the game that I think is almost being glossed over now because everybody's focusing on like procedurally generated city planets and massive spaceships and whatnot. And then, of course, another moment was the procedurally generated city planet. That kind of just like blew my mind. That was like one of those things where when they talked about it initially, I was like, it's very much hand wavium technology, you know, where you're just like, okay, yeah, sure. Procedurally generated city planet, like I'll believe you when I see it. And then they did it. And I was like, holy crap. You know, I was like Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park. I was like, those crazy bastards did it. Yeah, that was one of those moments where I was like, these guys might actually make this game, you know, because at that point I was still on the fence with like, is it going to happen? We don't know. It's so lofty.
I still remember that video you did on that.
Yeah.
That was the video the first video that I saw you do Star Citizen and not Battlefield, and I was like, oh, LevelCap the Star Citizen as well. So I think that still sticks in my mind of you being like, wow, this is you Let me explain how complicated and off the wall this whole thing is. The concept of ArtCorp alone, let alone being able to achieve it in game.
Yeah.
So,
dude, and I can't wait till they have like Siege of Orson style stuff on ArtCorp.
mhm.
Like, oh my god, can you imagine like having it fight among the skyscrapers, or doing like building top fights to each other, or like going down into the underbelly of the city? Like, there's so much to do there. They made a city-sized planet, and you like land in one little spot, and you're like,
Yeah.
this is cool.
Yeah, they could make an entire game just off that city, like areas of that planet alone, let alone
Yeah, part of me wants to play that game. Part of me is like, let them branch off and make ArtCorp the game.
the
You know?
game.
That's a
Yeah.
good name for it, actually. Just ArtCorp. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, imagine it, like the tyranny of living under a single company, and you're just like,
Hmm.
what a nightmare, what a dystopian nightmare.
All right. So this is a question I get asked a lot, and this was actually one of the catalysts for me reaching out to y'all to bring you on, because y'all are both fairly large YouTubers. You have large audiences. You get a lot of views. You have some influence and connections with other folks in the industry as well. And there has been a resurgence of people coming in with audience similar to yours. People like Jack Frags. I know you both know and played with Jack before, and I know. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name now. Another big streamer who's now streaming on YouTube.
Darkness 429. He just tweeted his new like dual analog setup. So I was like, oh, he's getting serious now.
Yeah.
So he's into it.
Yeah, so there's all these new, like these are new. I'm sure some of them have played the game before or this, but they seems to be a lot more folks coming in who are more what Star Citizen fans would consider mainstream creators. And with the addition of the letter from the chairman, where Chris Roberts said something like 1,900 people a day are signing up on the website, just signing up, not creating accounts, not buying the game, but signing up. I'm going to ask this question, and it's going to sound really weird, but feel free to answer as you will. LevelCap, is Star Citizen becoming mainstream?
I mean, we're talking semantics now. Like,
Okay,
it depends on whatever your definition of mainstream is. Is it becoming popular? Yeah, it is. It's becoming more playable, and that's one of the main reasons behind it. The content side of everything, there is like this weird new dynamic between content creators and a game's success, right? It's like we saw it with games like Minecraft, right? It's like Minecraft probably would have been somewhat successful on its own, but it was blasted into the stratosphere via content creators, right? And it might have boosted its popularity twofold, fivefold, tenfold. We don't really know how much content creation like increased the popularity or something like that. But I think the dynamic with certain games and what's happening with Star Citizen right now is that the game is playable and it's fantastic for making content. So other content creators are seeing that and they're going, oh my gosh, like it doesn't, for a content creator, it doesn't matter if the game is buggy. Like that becomes part of the journey, right? If you're a serious gamer and you don't want to spend your time playing something buggy, then that can be a bit of a detractor for you. But to a content creator, somebody who can spend 4 hours recording, 8 hours recording, however many hours, and turning that down into a 10-minute video that's a relatively entertaining adventure experience, the bugs, I mean, they can be annoying, but generally speaking, they can also add to the humor or become part of the adventure itself, And Star Citizen's definitely at the point where there's a lot of adventure to be had right now. Getting into the game, depending on how much you play it right now, you might almost never run out of things to do if you only play it like once or twice a week. In terms of what they're continuously adding to the game, right? The new missions, the new Siege of Orison, the new Black Kite mission, persistent entity streaming coming in several months, potentially. We'll see. Like, there's just a lot of stuff happening in the game right now, and it's possible that that'll start increasing at an even faster rate once development of Squadron 42 shifts over. So I think a lot of content creators are sort of like, this is a big game. I can make content that people will want to watch right now. Plus, if I get in on the ground floor, that does make sense for channel growth and community growth and stuff. If you're in a movement at the start versus trying to get in later, it's much easier. If you're like, hey, that guy has made Star Citizen content before, maybe he's making Star Citizen content now, I'll watch some of his stuff, as opposed to like trying to come in later or at the end of the game.
So like catching the wave as it's going up is what has always been it related to me in the creator spheres, is that you want to be on that crest of that wave like a surfer rather than being at the bottom, you know?
Yeah. Depending on what kind of content creator you are. Some people just have the knack for being incredibly funny and people will watch them play whatever they're going to play that day, you know? Like, I'm sure if Dr. Disrespect wanted to play Star Citizen all day for a month, people would be watching him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you wanted to become a big Call of Duty content creator now, that would be very hard. Like, you're up against an incredibly competitive environment right now. So catching the wave on the way up, I think, is a little part of probably what some people are getting into right now.
Awesome. Ollie, same question. Is Star Citizen mainstream, or is it going mainstream, or whatever that means to you?
I agree. Like, it is getting more popular. I don't know if it's mainstream, and it stresses me out because, like you say, a lot of people are signing up to the game, and I actually today watched people play the game for the first time, and it's still at the moment like quite challenging because there's so many hotkeys. There's a lot of things aren't told to you, and I think that at the moment the best way to play the game is with someone who's played the game before helping you through that first hour. And remove me as a content creator for a second.
Yeah.
As someone who just loves the project, I kind of don't want it to go mainstream just yet because I feel like they need to nail that onboarding experience before it goes mainstream, because I think a lot of people will pick up the game, and I don't know if people have the patience to pick it up now, play it for half an hour and say, I found it really challenging. And then in a year's time when, 4.0 comes out or whenever, come back, because they'll just go, well, last time I played it, it was really complicated and I didn't understand how everything worked. So it is becoming more popular because lots of content creators are making videos, but like also it's kind of it might be doing it a disservice in the long run. I don't know, because like I say, I think people play it assuming it's easy, and like LevelCap said, you could play for 8 hours and get a 10-minute video out of it because you've edited out the stuff setting stuff up or because something goes wrong. So I just really hope that
getting lost in a cave for 3 hours.
Oh god, it's so much fun.
Exactly. So yeah, I really hope that's a focus, because I think whether or not Star Citizen's ready for it, I think it's getting more popular.
Okay. Yeah,
I'd play devil's advocate to that just a little, in the sense that like I bought a starter package, or backed it. I don't even remember what the original backer package was, but it gave me the opportunity to jump in whenever, right? So if somebody did see your video content now and was like, this looks amazing, jumps in and they're like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed and I can't even find my spaceship. Maybe they stop before they can even find their spaceship, because let's be honest, there's no directions on where to get your spaceship.
Nope.
Yeah,
Like,
when
you
someone
get into
spawns
the
in
game and
Orison,
you're just like,
you come out of your room and you're just like,
Yeah.
Where do I go?
okay, do I go in an elevator? I don't know.
You're gonna run. You're gonna die from dehydration before you find your spaceship. You know?
It looks great, but I have no idea where I'm going, you know?
Exactly. And maybe they are like, I hate it. I don't have the patience to play this game right now because I'm, whatever. I just don't have the patience. I like instant gratification games. Star Citizen was marketed to me in a way that made it seem more accessible than it actually is. And now I'm gone. But they have the package now. And maybe along the way, is because they're clearly watching content, if that's what inspired them to get into the game from content creators, they'll see the 4.0 update video. They'll see the next update. And then it's much easier to drop back in and see what it's about. They're not dropping another $45 or whatever they spent on the original package. They've got the game. All they have to do is reinstall. So it's a much easier leap to come back in and try it. Plus, you and I would probably start making videos at a certain point once they have an onboarding experience that says, hey, the onboarding experience is pretty good now, or doesn't suck
Mm.
now, or like it's much easier to get into the game now.
It doesn't
So
just throw the keys at you and say, "Good luck, kid." You know.
yeah,
That
yeah.
is exactly how it goes right now.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. They used to have that tutorial. I found the tutorial music, which is actually Top Gun. It's such
Oh,
Top
it
Gun
is.
music
It is.
where they just like ripped off the Top Gun soundtrack and they're like, it's not Top Gun, but it is Top Gun. So they had this space flying tutorial in the game, and then of course everything was space flight changed. So they're like, well, this tutorial means nothing now. And it was
Mm.
actually pretty intricate in terms of like you had this big hangar and there was another guy that was like showing you what to do, and you get in
Grumpy
this ship
Gilly,
and like
we should call him, because
yeah.
he's always grumpy.
Yeah, and it probably took some devs a bit to put that together, and then like, oh crap, that's wasted dev time now, you know. So
Mhm.
I assume that's why they're not making any sort of decent onboarding experience at the moment. But they do really need to lock down everything in the game, like in a moderately timely manner, so they can put together some sort of onboarding experience.
Yeah, last I heard, they did say that they're going to be making a first 30-minute onboarding experience that they've been starting to develop as of June or May. So,
Okay.
So they know that they are in that stage, which has been a discussion I've foreseen with some of the people in the community, where it's like, is this time for a tutorial? Because what if everything changes by 4.0?
Yeah, that's a good point. They
But
just need to give people a map. We've talked about this,
yes,
LevelCap. They need to give people a map. And like, I know use signs, but the
Some of
problem
those
is that,
signs are terrible. Have you
they're
seen
terrible.
the
They're
metro
terrible
sign
placement.
in New
well, there's,
Babbage? It's
I,
light gray text on a white wall.
so
Like,
I
I
think
mean,
they've changed that in the PTU. I looked
did
at that
they?
today, and it's actually just like a normal map now,
Ah,
which
Okay.
because like my first experience, and there's a video of this, I got so stressed about what platform to get on because I didn't know where I was going. And obviously, you know that you can just sit on it and it will go around. But I didn't know that, and I found it super stressful. But if there was a map, like I know they emphasize signs, look at signs,
mhm.
but they don't tell you that's how the game works.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's only because someone will say, "Oh, you just need to look at the signs." Because gamers aren't inherently used to looking at signs rather than being told where to go. So I just think they either need to give people a map or really tell people, just look at the signs in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people are tuned into that.
I
Yeah.
think especially within the city environment, you would expect the city in the year 3000 or close to be like, you know, we're almost we're navigating with our smartphones as is, right? To get
Mm-hmm.
around.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never lost when I'm out and about and stuff. So why should I, in the city of the future, be trying to find a burrito bar or something? You know, I'm like, I'm dying of food. Where's the food?
Where's food?
Where is food?
Yeah.
They are. I keep seeing it on their progress tracker that they're working on the 3D first person map.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to integrate to cities at some point.
Yeah.
So,
I hope.
but again, it's just one of those things where it's like, all right, cool, sounds good. We'll see that
Yeah.
when we see it.
I'm a big proponent of the AR, because they already do augmented reality stuff. They even talk about augmented reality. When you're out of your suit, everything you see on your HUD is actually technically all augmented reality in their kind of game logic. So like you have something in your eye that projects this, and so that's why it's a different HUD. And I'm a big proponent of just like Google Maps on your eye, just a little path that shows you where you're supposed to go.
That's
You
where
know,
we're ending up anyway, right?
yeah.
We're all going to
And
have glasses
you,
with like AR directions on paths.
yeah, but you at least, the very least, you have like, you know, you choose it just to make it a little bit easier. I know there's a lot of people out there who are very much, no, I want this game to kill people on a regular basis, and I get the whole like difficulty area, but you need to have some ramp before you go into that cliff, because you know,
there's definitely a trade-off, right?
Yeah.
It's a big trade-off, and I think Eve is one of those games that kind of like really throws that in your face, which is like, here's this game's been around for 20 years and people love it because it's got this crazy difficulty curve. And there is sort of a thing of like, oh, I know how to get around New Babbage now because I explored it and figured it out. And it might mean less if every time I went to New Babbage there was a line telling me where to go, but at the same time, I do think in its current state, like, why not just sacrifice a little bit of that to make the onboarding experience easier.
Mhm.
Right. And then once you're into the game, maybe you don't need your map to get around. You're like, I know where the ammo store is. I'll just run down this
Mhm.
hallway. I don't need to mark it on my map each
Yeah.
time, you know?
And there's a difference between like in a city and like in a Starfarer wreck. You're not going to know where anything is in a Starfarer wreck. But if you're going into a Starfarer wreck, you're not the first hour of the game, you know?
Yeah.
All right. I guess we'll go into the next question. I'll start with you on this one, LevelCap. Now that you are both have been doing Star Citizen for quite some time now, what do you think is the next hurdle for CIG in terms of developing Star Citizen? Like, what's the next thing they need to tackle? We've already talked a little bit about the new player experience, but do you think, like, do they need to make the game more playable? Do they need to focus on the back end structure? Where would you like to see them kind of focus in the near to far near? I guess the next 6 months to a year from now.
6 months to a year. Well, I mean, it's hard to say that because it's like we already know where they're focusing, right? They're focusing on 3.18 and 4.0 to try and get persistent entity streaming in the game and all that stuff. It's hard to try and like say, oh, they should do this instead, because obviously increasing player count and creating a secondary system is very exciting to somebody who's already passed the brutal learning curve of the game. Now you're like, I want more stuff. Give me more stuff. Now that I'm like, you know, I think I've experienced more or less the majority of the missions. We'll just say 90 to 95% of the mission content in the game. They have all the tools right now to make lots of good missions. Like some of the missions that are like 2 or even 3 years old, I think, like some of the prisoner transport stuff and whatnot. Those are really cool missions, like really interesting, dynamic missions that give you a lot of variety of gameplay. And they like threw some of those into the game, and then they're like, and no more. And you're like, well, you have all the tools to make these missions. It doesn't even seem like you need new assets almost to keep making interesting, dynamic missions. If that new player onboarding experience becomes better and can get more people in the game, if you can flood them with good, interesting, dynamic mission content that's not just the same old rinse and repeat, collect a box, deliver to this guy, blow up these guys at this location, go into the bunker, you know, and I know they are working on lots of this stuff. So it's like I'm asking for what they're already working on, but it seems like there's a lot that could be injected to the game right now, aside from quality of life updates, which everybody wants, and the new player experience, which I think everybody wants. And those seem like the obvious, like make a star map that works type stuff. I think everybody's requested that, but they've got all the assets and the tools, it seems like anyway, to make just a plethora of fantastic mission content that could be in the Stanton system. And then as they expand to other systems, expand it to those systems. But, the missions are just so dynamic and deep and interesting when you find one of those cool missions. And most of them aren't that. So I just want to see a massive expansion of missions and also cargo stuff. Like there's tons of ships in the game that have giant cargo holds, and there's no actual missions built around that. You can trade, but trading is, I mean, it is not interesting in the slightest. So yeah, I think I'm open for like that seems like an easy win to me, is like get the mission team working on some missions. You've got all the assets, you've got all the tools, just crank out some cool missions. You know, every patch should have, and granted, in their defense, they did release some cool missions in 17.2. So just more of that. Yeah. Siege of Orison, Black Sail. That's awesome. The Black Sail mission, I'm like, man, why? There should be tons of these types of missions. They're awesome. Am I saying that right? Is it Black Sail or Black?
I think it's Black Sail. Yeah.
Black Kite. That's what it is.
Black Kite. Yeah. The Reclaimer infiltration mission. I actually
it looks awesome.
It was really good fun.
Yeah, such a cool ship, cool interior. They've like kitted it out as this cool like hacking base, and you're like, this is dope. And like, yeah, just give me more of that stuff. You know, maybe make me disable the ship next time and then board it. And then you know they got the tools to do it. So, yeah, they've already proven themselves with the tech, what they can do right now. They can't push the player count yet to do all that really fun stuff with like massive quantities of people. So push it in the direction that you can push it, which is like more mission trees and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to make the joke that it's just, I know that a lot of the people who work in the Montreal office, who are the ones who are doing a lot of these new missions, are also former like UB devs. So they've made like Assassin's Creed and Far Cry. And when I first saw a lot of the new stuff coming in, I'm like, this reminds me of Far Cry. Oh, right. These devs worked on Far Cry. So be careful what you wish for, because we're going to get radio towers next, thanks to LevelCap. You know, it's like, oh yeah, we need more missions. Here's a radio tower mission to go activate a radio tower on some random planet.
As long as I don't desync off a tower, that's fine.
As long as there's a hay bale I can jump into at the bottom of the tower, then we're good.
Yeah.
Ollie, same question on you. Like, what would you like to see going forward with Star Citizen? You know, the focus.
There's a couple of things, but just to lead on what LevelCap was saying, like the new missions, Black Kite and Ghost Hollow, is that the one with the derelict on Microtech?
Yes.
So both of those missions have like so much detail, like assets, like they're so different. Like the Reclaimer in Black Kite in space has got loads of stuff in it. It looks completely different to just a normal Reclaimer. I don't think they need to like go that hard on modifying the ships. Like just put the first 890 jump mission. Just put that in and put enemies in and tell me to go there and do something. They're putting so much work right now into like making these amazing, honestly, looking places like Ghost Hollow. But like if they need to dial that back a little bit to do more, I'm fine with that. That's cool. But what I really want is before Squadron 42 comes out, they need onboarding experience for players. Like if Squadron 42 comes out and the PU doesn't have onboarding like they're planning, I think that would be a real mistake personally, because a lot of people will see there's an actual game, like a closed environment, which will, I imagine, be awesome. And then they'll jump into the PU, and then, like I said, I think they'll drop off, or some will. So that's all I want. I don't care when it comes out, but when Squadron 42 comes out, just have a good onboarding experience, please, for the community.
Oof, yeah, I'm with you on that one, because I've heard so many people say Squadron 42's tutorial. I'm like, that's a bad way of doing this. It's going to end badly for everyone.
Well, are they okay? My question is: are they going to use Stanton for Squadron 42?
No.
Okay, so that doesn't help anyone, really.
No. They're using the one system we know that's confirmed is Nyx, or not Nyx, Odin, which is a system we haven't seen yet, other than in Squadron 42 videos. So,
okay. So like,
and Paul, as you explained to me, the single player for the most part is going to be more or less linear. So it's not going to be like explore the system at your will and land at a station and buy some gear. It's going to be like go here and kill these guys, or go to one of these three places and find out where the bad guy is or something.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be like your typical PU experience of like just do what you want. So
free will,
the game itself might train you how to play, how to fly and like get in or get out of a spaceship and shoot your gun and stuff. But it probably isn't going to teach you like 90% of the skills you might need for the persistent universe. Granted, flying a spaceship and getting in and getting out is like 80% of it, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not going to teach you how to call your ship to a pad and that kind of stuff, because you'll have your ship there, and there'll be a scripted experience with some of that stuff. So yeah.
I mean, if they can fit the onboarding into Squadron 42, that's fine. But I don't know what Squadron 42 is gonna be really. So I mean, if it's just gonna be the linear experience, then just please have a tutorial or something.
Did you play the old Wing Commander games, Ollie? No. So that's basically what it is. It's the way that I've always described it is, think of Mass Effect, but Star Citizen. Okay. Like less control on Mass Effect though. So you know, with Mass Effect, you can, like Mass Effect 1, you can go to any of these different planets. It's like, hey, you're on the ship, you're gonna go do missions, you'll come back and the story will progress, and depending on how well you do will depend on what mission you get next and how bad or good the mission's going to be in the long term.
I'm really excited for Squadron 42. I think it would be amazing. Because a lot of the stuff in the PU is like a lot of the awesome stuff is random moments where you're like, whoa, that looks cool. Like you were saying, when you realize you can fire a laser from space and it hits the planet. And if they've curated that or situations like that, it's going to be some really cool things to like experience, I think, like set pieces.
Okay.
Ollie, have you seen the vertical slice video from like 2017, I think?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Probably.
It's like the Squadron 42, like here's a single mission from Squadron 42, where you start on the Idris or an Idris, and then get your mission briefing and then fly out and then go on a mission with your buddy Mark Hamill and then like land on a planet and do some other stuff. That was incredibly high fidelity even at the time. You could watch it now and you're like, oh, this looks really good, you know. And that was like 5 years ago, but yeah, I felt like that experience there is like it does highlight it. Like the single player doesn't seem like it's shying away from all the things that make the persistent universe fantastic, which is like you can be on a massive capital class ship and then fly your small spaceship out of it and then like explore nebulous rock formations and fight guys in space and then land on a planet, like go through the atmosphere and dodge debris in the atmosphere and land on it and then go on an FPS mission. It's like it is integrating all that cool wow factor stuff. So who knows? Maybe it will be a decent introductory experience to getting into the PU. But again, it's like all of this stuff is so far away.
Yeah, we don't even know because I haven't even mentioned a date yet. So that's still one of those like, you know,
the latest progress report from Squadron 42. I saw the Reddit post dissecting it and they're like, it's impossible. I almost resent that they make those progress reports on Squadron 42 without any sort of fun video content to go along with it, because they're just like, we're working on multiple AI algorithms right now for defense and offense and whatever. And then the community's like, shouldn't that have been done years ago? If you guys are like creating dynamic levels and whatnot, the basic AI programming should already be in the game and whatnot. And people just don't know what the progress is, what it looks like. They're dissecting lines of text and they give us like 3 pages worth of text on what they're doing to the game. But there's no visual accompaniment there. And I wish there was a bit more. And I think maybe I talked about this with you a bit, Paul, but it's just like, we need to see some of that progress. Because if you're going to shift like whatever it is, 80% of your development team over to it, in which I think most fans would rather them be working on the PU instead of Squadron 42, it's like, at least give us some treats from it, you know, some teasers, some nuggets.
Nugget.
Yeah, release the like a mission for everybody.
One level,
like,
one chapter.
Give us a level to people who bought into Squadron 42. Let us play through it, you know? Like that kind of thing would be dope. But
I'm a big proponent of demos coming back, but I know that they take up time and that sort of thing. But I think a lot of people would be okay with a single mission that you could play through, so that people are like, oh, this is what we're getting, you know? Like
the free demo should just be the onboarding experience.
Yes. So we can have an onboarding experience in Star Citizen.
Exactly. If that's how we get it.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for our discussion section. We're going to go over to a question and answer session really quickly, and I'm going to end the video here for those of you watching on YouTube. If you're watching this YouTube, if you haven't already subscribed to Olli and LevelCap, what are you doing here? Go subscribe to them. I can't imagine you haven't already done so, but please do if you haven't already done so. Thank you for watching this. Like I said, we usually do these on Saturdays, so you can always join us live at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub on Saturdays at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern to come watch these live. And if you enjoyed this, hit the subscribe button. As always, I'm trying to grow the newest channel. I kind of split my content because the lore stuff was intersecting with the gaming stuff, and the algorithm was like, what do? So I made that decision to split the two so I could get more of a not anger the YouTube gods. So please do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.